In this video, you're going to see chess like you've never seen it before. I'm going to show you a game played between the world number 2, Hikaru Nakamura, and Levi Rozman, an international master and the most famous chess YouTuber in the world. The game was played in a 3-minute Blitz format. Hikaru Nakamura is playing with 7 knights as white, while Levi Rozman is playing black with a rook, 2 bishops, another rook, and a queen. If we translate all material into pawn value, with knights worth 3 pawns, bishops worth 3, rooks worth 5, and the queen worth 9, then black is actually up the equivalent of 4 pawns. White's 7 knights equal 21 pawns, 7 times 3. Black's rooks add up to 10. The 2 bishops add 6 more for 16, and the queen adds 9, giving 25. And if you look at the evaluation bar on the left side of the board, the computer gives black almost minus 3.5. But what actually happens in the game? We're about to find out. Nakamura begins with e3, preparing d4. Black responds with d5, taking space in the center. White strikes back with d4, taking control of key squares on e5 and c5. Black develops the light-squared bishop to f5, and Nakamura's cavalry begins marching toward the center. The knight from h1 jumps to g3, attacking the bishop. The bishop is forced to retreat, or so it seems. But Levi Rozman notices something in White's position, some kind of weakness, and grabs the pawn on c2. But here's the whole trick with White's knights. It's incredibly hard for Black to track which squares are actually defended. The pawn on c2 looks completely unprotected, but the knight hiding on a 1 is silently watching over it. Nakamura immediately captures the bishop, and now the position becomes roughly balanced. By blundering that bishop, Black has essentially equalized for White. Black pushes the h-pawn forward with h5, a clear strategy. If I'm going to blunder something against all these knights, let it be a pawn, not a piece. Nakamura develops another knight to c3, aiming at the pawn on d5. Black strengthens that pawn with e6, also opening a path for the dark-squared bishop. The main thing Black must not overlook in the next move is his bishop landing on b4, because the knight on c2 is already controlling that square. Losing both bishops to the same knight from a1 would be a disaster. Nakamura continues bringing out his cavalry. Black strikes in the center with c5, trying to undermine White's pawn on d4, but that pawn is firmly protected by 2 knights and by pawns. White simply activates yet another knight, bringing it to e2. Black places a rook on the c-file, preparing to take on d4 and possibly open the file for counterplay. White keeps improving the position. Another knight steps into the center on d2, and Black hits with h4, trying to pry open the king side. The knight is under attack and must retreat. It jumps back to f1, returning to its stable. A beautiful sight. The white knights have completely surrounded his king. There is absolutely no threat of mate here. The king is perfectly safe inside this ring of knights. Black continues playing on both sides of the board. He pushes the a-pawn, preparing b5 to claim space on the queen side. This broad, sweeping plan makes sense. Black wants to restrict the freedom of all these white knights. But Hikaru Nakamura is Hikaru Nakamura, a super grandmaster and the world's number 2. He finds the strongest idea in the position. He opens the center with e4, deliberately offering his pawn to immediately break open the middle of the board and unleash the force of his knights. Black is forced to take the pawn, and after the recapture with a knight, another pawn in the center also comes off the board. Nakamura takes it with the knight from c3, completely blowing apart Black's central structure. The board is now wide open. Black's king is still stuck in the center, far more vulnerable than White's king, who is surrounded and shielded by his knights. It becomes obvious how difficult this position is for Black. Only 4 active pieces against 7 white knights. Even though Black still technically has a 2-pawn advantage in material, the position is incredibly unpleasant to play. In this position, Levi develops his bishop to b4, pinning the knight on c3 to the king, taking advantage of the fact that the knight on c2 moved earlier and no longer controls b4. But White simply chases the bishop with a pawn push. The bishop retreats to a5, and White brings another knight into the center. A stunning symmetry appears. 4 perfectly coordinated knights controlling the heart of the board. Every piece protects the others. Nothing is hanging. Each knight defends his partner, and the resulting position is a dream for white. Just look how many squares these knights cover. The knight on e4 controls f6 and d6. The knight on d4 controls c6, e6, and f5. The knight on c3 controls d5, b5, and supports the knight on e4. The knight on f3 controls e5, g5. The knight on e2 protects the knight on d4. Even though these knights look compact, they dominate the entire board and severely restrict Black's activity. Black places his rook on h5, adding pressure to central squares. White activates his last inactive unit. The knight from d1 jumps into the game on e3. Black hits the center with f5, attacking the knight on e4, but he completely overlooks the incoming blow. White plays knight to e6, forking the queen and the pawn on g7, and preparing another fork on the king and the rook. Black plays queen to d7, defending g7, but another knight jumps in, knight to c5, protecting the knight on e6 and attacking the queen. This is where the magic of the knights appears. Each one protects the others and attacks everything around him. Black's queen suddenly has no safe square. If she retreats to e7, White still wins the pawn on g7 with a fork, and after that, the queen gets trapped anyway. Seeing no solution, Levy sacrifices his rook on c5 for the knight. The queen finally escapes to e7, attacking a white knight at last. White calmly protects the attacked knight with b4, also hitting the bishop on a5. The bishop retreats far back to d8 to avoid any future forks, but White's knights continue to swarm. A knight jumps to d5, forcing the queen to run again. She retreats to f7. Then knight to e5 follows. Peak centralization. The knights suffocate Black's entire position. The queen desperately hides on g8. White strengthens his structure with f4, protecting the knight on e5, because Black hoped to push f4 to trade him off. Meanwhile, the rook on h5 is completely useless. Black tries to activate him by pushing g5, hoping to open the g-file. White ignores this and simply takes the pawn on b7, also attacking the bishop on d8. Black grabs the pawn on f4, and the knight on e3 is attacked. But White doesn't care. He gives a stunning check with knight to d6. Black has only one square, king to f8. White calmly recaptures on f4 with a knight, attacking the rook. The rook retreats to h6, attacking another knight, but White takes the pawn on f5. The white king is perfectly safe. Black's rook enters the e-file, attacking the knight on e5, but of course this rook can be captured. White takes on e6, Black's queen takes back on e6, and the knight on e5 is still under attack. But White reinforces everything with knight to f3, protecting e5 and making every knight fully defended. The black king runs toward g8 to escape the web of forks. White regroups. A knight drops to d3, aiming for f5 or c5. The black king runs farther, but White removes the last kingside pawn on h4. Black gives up his bishop for a knight, but it doesn't change the evaluation. The knight captures on h4, and we reach a new position. White now has 4 knights against Black's queen, plus 3 extra pawns. White is completely winning. Black's queen retreats to c8, as far away from his king as possible, because the further the queen stays from him, the harder it is for White to land a decisive fork. White begins bringing his knights toward the final attack. A knight lands on c5, and Black's queen slides to f8. The queen is on one side of the world, the king is on the other, and the position is falling apart. White increases the pressure. A knight jumps to e6, Black pushes h7, but White continues the assault, knight to g5 with check. Black's king escapes to h8, but now knight to f5 arrives, cutting off escape squares and limiting Black's king to a tiny corner. Black, in heavy time trouble, finds an interesting defensive try, queen to f7, controlling the 7th rank and eyeing the kingside from afar. His queen wants to reach g1 and start giving endless checks, but he is too late. Hikaru Nakamura sees a forced mate in 2. He plays knight to g6, delivering check. Black's king has only one legal move, king to g8. Every other square is controlled by a knight, and now White finishes the game in the most aesthetic way possible. Find the mate in 1 second. 3 knights already cover every escape square. And the final blow is knight to f6, checkmate. A breathtaking finish. The knight on f6 delivers the final strike. The knight on f5 controls g7, the knight on g5 controls h7 and f7, the knight on g6 blocks h8 and f8, and black's king has absolutely no escape. If you enjoyed this breakdown, leave a like, write in the comments whether you want to see more battles with unusual material setups. Your support, comments, and feedback give me the motivation to create even more content for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.